Hello, welcome back. We're here for lesson 2.2. We're going to be solving for some variables in formulas. Formulas are repeat methods of doing things that help simplify the process. So when you transfer like Fahrenheit to Celsius, there's a formula to do that so that you're repeating the process. And if you have a formula, then you're repeating the process a little bit more simple than if you were always trying to solve the one formula for a particular variable. There's my kitty cat. Hazel. Hazel Grace. Okay, so let's just jump right in. So it's a lot of what we just did in lesson 2.1. So we're actually getting some great practice with those items as well. So here we go. We're starting on 2.2, and it's problem 1. And I'm doing A and B. So this is the formula that we're using, 3x minus 4y equals 12. And we want to find y if x equals 0. So we're going to replace x with 0. I'm just going to do that here. So 3 times 0 minus 4y equals 12. And I'm going to circle y to remind myself that's what I'm solving for. So 3 times 0 is 0. So that goes away. So we have minus 4y equals 12. And so I'm going to divide away this negative 4. And so y equals a negative 3. Then it says, solve that same equation if x were to equal a negative 2. So if x were to equal negative 2, then this would be 3 times a negative 2 minus 4y equals 12. And 3 times a negative 2 is negative 6. Minus 4y equals 12. So using the addition property, we get a minus 4y equals 18. And then we're going to divide by negative 4. And we get negative 18 fourths. You could divide that by 2 and get a negative 9 halves. Now, number 12 says, let x equal 0, y equals 0. And in this equation here, we want to solve for A, for the letter A, right here. So I'm going to write it when y equals 0, so A and x equals 0. And we want to solve for A. So we have 0 equals A, and then a negative 80 squared plus 70. And a negative 80 squared is 6,400 plus 70. And then I'm solving for A. So I'm going to subtract 70. And I like to put my coefficient out in front of my letter A here. And then I have to divide by 6,400 to solve for A. And so A, 70 divided by 6,400 is a decimal, and it's negative 0.0109. So A equals 0.011. I'm going to round that to 3 decimal places. So next up is number 18. At the top of the page. And it says find H when T equals 1, and then also when T equals 3. When T equals 1, H equals 64 times 1 minus 16 times 1 squared. So both of those, that's 1 and that's 1. So H equals 64 minus 16. So H equals 48. When T equals 1, that makes things are pretty simple. Let's look when T equals 3. So H equals 64, T is 3, minus T is 3. So this time it's a little bit different. So H equals 64 times 3 is 192. Minus 16 times 3 squared is 9. So 192 and 16 times 9 is 144. And 192 minus 144 is 48. Well, that's cool. And because it's a squared, it's a quadratic, we call this equation. And remember that zero product property, if we were to be able to factor this and solve that way, we do have 2 solutions. So that's pretty cool. Okay, let's look down at number 22. It says if we have the equation D equals K times T squared, find K. So this time we're solving for K. If T equals 2 and D is 64. So I'll get a little focus here. So D is 64. Let's just replace it. We're trying to solve for K and T is 2. So 64 equals K times 2 squared is 4. So we're going to divide by 4 to cancel that out and divide by 4. So K equals 16. So using our solving skills that we did in the last lesson, very much so. Okay, the next one says, oh, this is our distance. Distance, let's just write this out. We're going to use this a lot in life. Distance equals rate times time. And it says solve D equals RT for T. So we're going to solve for T, and there's no other numbers. And T is being multiplied by R. So we are going to divide both sides by R. So distance divided by rate equals time. Next up is problem number 34. It says solve A equals 1/2 BH. This is the area of a triangle. This is a formula for the area of a triangle. And we want to solve for B, it said. And because we have fractions, let's multiply so that we can eliminate our fractions. So the only denominator we have is 2. So we're going to multiply by 2. So 2A and then 2 times 1/2 BH. So those cancel. equals. So we have 2a equals bh. And they wanted us to solve for b. So the only thing currently bothering b is h. So if we divide, because we're multiplying here, we're going to undo that by dividing by h. So 2 times b, big A divided by h equals b. You're doing great. Anytime you need to pause and go back and rewatch something, make sure you take time to do that. Then it says solve for y. This is number 62 on page 126. So solve for y, let's circle it. So we need to undo this 1 first. So we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So we end up with x minus 1 equals 4y. And we don't know what x is either, but the only thing we're worried about is solving for y. So we're going to divide both sides by 4. So we can have x is divided by 4 minus 1 divided by 4 equals y. Another way to write that would just be 1/4 times x. So that's instead of x divided by 4, they're the same thing. Minus 1/4 equals y. So these are all solving for a variable where we have 2 variables in the equation. These are all linear equations. So we want to solve for y. We're trying to solve for y. Well, the cool thing is everything else is on the right-hand side. We do need to, let's eliminate the fraction. And so the only denominator we have to worry about is the 3. So we're going to multiply through by 3. So we're going to say 3 times y plus 3 times 1 equals 3 times the negative 2/3 times x minus 3. And that's one big multiplication, so it cancels it out there. So we have 3y plus 3 equals a negative 2 times x minus 3. Make sure we use our distributive property before we combine like terms. 3y plus 3 equals a negative 2x plus 6. And remember, we're trying to solve for y. So we need to get everything to the right. So first we're going to subtract away this 3, and we can do that with the other constant on the right. So we have 3y equals a negative 2x plus 3. Still trying to solve for y. So we're going to divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. Every term gets divided by 3. So y equals a negative 2/3 x plus 3 divided by 3 is 1. That was a big one. And that is all for lesson 2.2. Catch me back for some formulas in the next section. Some more solving equations. I'm sorry, the next ones are, we just did formulas. We're going to do some applications with formulas and equations.